Okay, so the class is being recorded, and this is me again, Dr. Sameh, and this is EA 300B. Um, okay, so what is it that we're in for? We are in for Tom's Midnight Garden. We started the novel last night, and it promises to be a very interesting one. How interesting? Because it has this element of magic realism to it. It starts in reality, but it never ends there. It's magical. It's fantastic in a sense because we have this time slip kind of thing where people in the novel go all the way to the past, the Victorian past, to be more specific. And this is something that we don't have an invention for yet. We don't have this invention that can take us back to the past or take us forward to the future, right? Not yet, at least. So this is amazing in and of itself, and it can kind of appeal to lots of people. I don't know about you guys, but when I first read the novel, I was fascinated by the moving to the past. Um, so if you're given, let's have this thought experiment for a minute. If you're given the opportunity to either go to the past or to the future, which directions are you going to take? Which directions or direction do you prefer? The past or the future? Okay, if you're going to move all the way to the past, raise your hands. If you we're organizing a trip next week during Ramadan to the past. If you would like to join, raise your hands. So who is with us? Lian is with us. Wala, Marwa. Only three people are going with me to the past. Okay. So a minority and a small one. Okay. So the week after, perhaps during Eid or after Eid, we're organizing a trip to the future. So who is joining? Who's going with us to the future? Fatma, Wigdan, Nahil, Marwa, Hagar. Lots of people are going with us to the future. Okay. So let's start with the majority. So why would you join a trip to the future rather than to the past? Let me ask you. So drop your hands, and if you would like to answer, raise your hand again. Why? Why would you join? Yeah, let's start with Gawaher Khalid.
Yes, hi doctor.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
I would rather to go to the future because the past is already passed, and I
It
want to know
doesn't have
what's.
to be, by the way, if you visit the past, it doesn't have to be your past. It can be a glorious past, something that
Also,
you look up forward to, and that you look up to. For example, a historic period that you're proud of, where you can meet a historic figure that you're also proud of. So this is what we mean by the past. But go on, yeah, go on.
because the past has already happened, and if it's a famous person, يعني we already know what happened with him.
Mhm,
Um, but in the future, يعني I'm curious what's going to happen.
mhm. Nice. So what do you think will happen in the future, or at least during the trip? What is it that you're going to see that you don't see now?
Um, maybe some new things that we didn't reach it until now,
Mhm.
uh, and the technology and the transportation, um,
Oh,
something like this in my mind right now.
nice. Good. Okay. Fatma, how about you, Fatma? Fatma, you want to
Yeah,
join the trip to the future, right?
yeah, yeah. I like to join the future to see what's happened in my future, and what happened for the people, and also the world will be changed. I think everything will be changed in the future. This is my curiosity to see the future.
Hmm. And what do we mean by future? Are we talking about 20 years from now or perhaps more?
Yeah,
Mhm.
more than 20 years, because I think the life will be changed after the 20 years and more.
Nice, good. Okay. Nahil, how about you? Future, huh? Future
Yes,
team. Okay.
I'm from future team. Yeah, actually, doctor, I'm so curious to know like how will be the future? Like if we nowadays we have those technology, what will be the technology like in the future? Maybe we'll have a cars that will fly
Yeah.
instead of moving on grounds. And at the same time, I want to know my future. I want to know like the work that I am doing right now, how it will be later, how I will achieve many things later. So this is why I want to go to the future.
Okay. But people create their own futures. You can almost tell from now what kind of future you are in for. I mean,
Yes.
if you study very well, and which I think you do, I
Thank
think
you,
you'll
doctor.
have a bright future, inshallah. You don't have to join us. You,
And then,
but you, of
I
course, you're
change
more
my
than
mind.
welcome. You're more than welcome. So, people of the
Thank
future, who else do we have for the future trip? Okay, Wala. No, you're not a future girl. You'll
Yes,
go
I'm a
with us to.
past girl.
Okay. Wigdan, future or past?
Yes, doctor, for future,
Nice.
of
Okay.
course.
Nice. Very good. Mariam, future?
Yes, doctor. I've changed my mind actually. Take me back to the 70s and and just let me there.
So you'll go
Let
to
me live
the
there.
back to the 70s. So
Yes.
what is interesting about the 70s, if I may ask?
It's I've always been interested in that time. Like it's a peaceful decade, you know? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I was only like in the 70s. I was born in 1971. So which means during the 70s, I was a small kid, unaware of lots of things around me. I guess you were not born yet, right,
Of
Mariam?
course, yeah.
uh, okay, that's interesting. Let's go to the past. Or Hagar. Hagar, would you like to go with us to the future?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. So, but you have to pay a small fee. Are you
Yes.
ready? Okay. So, what attracts you to the future, ya Hagar?
Uh, for me, the future will be to more experience, more than the past. The past is finished, and we don't have a lot of experience there. The future will get better, and we can work hard for what we want to do. That's why the future is better than the past, because the past like a lesson for us.
Yeah, you learn from the
The
past,
past,
and you try
yes,
to kind of avoid the things that you have done in the
yes,
past so that your future can be better, right?
yes.
Yes, thank you so much. Let's go to the past. People of the past, raise your hands. Hagar, can I ask you to drop? Yeah, thank you. Let's Wala.
Yes, I think I want to go to the past because the future does not interest me. I don't care about technology and all the modern thing. However, I always wondered how it's like to live in the past and how their life was. Okay, I heard the stories about it, but I want to see with my own eyes.
Amazing. Thank you, Wala, for those very beautiful insights. Lan, how about you?
A good morning, doctor.
A very good morning to you.
I would like to go to the past for two main reasons. And they're a little bit depressing, to be honest, but
Let's judge for ourselves. Tell us, and then let's see.
okay. So I believe that the future would be very dystopian. I think technology would like rule over the world, and
Mhm.
like right now we're seeing AI. I
I
think
mean,
the future,
you're fleeing from the future to the past.
yes.
Yeah, this is new, right? Yeah.
So,
So it's
and
not about the past as much as it is about the fact that you're scared of the what the future holds,
the
right?
first reason, yeah, but
Mm,
the
mm,
second reason is more of an enjoyment.
mhm.
I would
So
like to live in the Renaissance.
you're talking about it's a vast terrain. You're talking about perhaps between the 13th and the 17th or the 16th century. So you need to
Yes.
be also more particular, right?
Um, when poets lived,
Yeah.
the classic poets,
Mhm. Do you have somebody in mind that you're going to visit and perhaps sit with and talk to?
Edgar Allan Poe and William Blake.
So, okay, so obviously this is not Renaissance.
Yeah, oh yeah,
But I mean, you're talking
actually,
about the past in general, right? Okay,
yes.
so what are you going to tell Edgar Allan Poe?
I would ask him why he was so depressed.
Okay, William Blake, this
William
mystic,
Blake,
very beautiful poet, right? Romantic or
yes,
pre-romantic to be more specific.
his poems, yeah, are really just beautiful.
Yeah, they are, yes. Anybody else? So Wala, it was Wala and Layan. Anybody else into the past? Okay. So what if the trip to the past is kind of specified? I don't ask you to join, and then we move um, through the past, and it's different time periods. If I specify a period, would you still go? If I say, for example, the Victorian era, the Victorian age, you have done enough Victorian literature, right? Remember Wuthering Heights, The Sign of Four, Dickens and his novels, Thomas Hardy, George Eliot, and others. So if the trip is limited to the Victorian age, would you still go? Those
For
who would like to, yeah.
for me, yes, I prefer the Victorian era, even if I choose the future. But
Mm,
I like the Victorian era, how the dress and the style of houses and the life itself. It's very beautiful for me. When I see a movie in the Victorian area, I really
mhm,
enjoy that era. I feel that it's a very special time.
mhm. Yeah, nice.
So I will enjoy that trip, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah. But
Inshallah.
remember, yeah, let's listen to what Wala has to say about that, and then I have something to say about the Victorian age. Wala.
Yes, I will still go because, again, I'm really interested in the past and I would like to see how they used to live. And yes, I like the writers in that period. I like Charles Dickens, the Brontes. They are all very interesting to me. I like their writings.
Nice, very good. Mariam?
Yes, doctor. If we
Yes.
have enough budget, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah,
But
if
if there's no
yeah,
budget, I'll not go
that's
to the
fine.
past.
We have I mean, the necessary budget, and we also have enough
Yes,
seats.
because
You
she
can
said
join.
the houses and the dresses and doesn't make any sense if we go when we are poor there.
No, we'll have
Yeah.
enough money, inshallah. Don't worry.
So I'm a
Uh,
past
yes.
person.
So
Deal.
Mariam is going with us. Good. I think I don't know whether this was Riham or Rehab. They said something very interesting. The past is not always honey and milk. there were also, um, bad spots over there. The treatment of women, poverty was all over the place. So London was rich and everything because this was part of the empire, and the empire was rich, the British Empire. But there were also sectors of society who were under poverty line. So if we go to the Victorian age, we will have to also look at this. We're not romanticizing the Victorian age like um, what is happening in the novel. If you have noticed, when Tom went to the past, it was the Victorian age with its values. And this is something that some critics criticized. They said the Victorian age is has was not always what people now think it was. It was also a period where the people were suffering, where people were made redundant and unemployed because of the Industrial Revolution. Remember, we have taken part of that when we did the Romantics. So the Romantics, yeah, they came a little earlier to the Victorian age, but you know, the same trends persisted and stayed on. I mean, the idea of poverty, the idea of unemployment, there were lots of people who were reduced to poverty. I promise you. Um, so again, this is one of the things that we're having in the novel. This slip or time slip narrative, as they call it, where the characters, or perhaps one of the characters, is allowed the opportunity to go all the way back to the past. And the past is big. It's a vast terrain, like we're saying. So why the Victorian age in the novel? Obviously, because the author thinks that the Victorian age is the best. Do we think that the Victorian, as students of the Victorian age, do we think that the Victorian age was the best? Absolutely not. And a novel like Wuthering Heights is a testimony to that. If you have read, and you have read, I know, Wuthering Heights, you know what happened. You know that there was this disparity and this gap between the North and the South. And you know that people, I mean, even the characters and people in the Victorian age were not all well educated. You can be educated in the sense that you know how to read and write, but your mind is not big enough. And this is what we have seen with them when they reacted to, for example, the Indian Mutiny, and how biased they were against the Indians. So again, this is one of the ideas that we have in the novel, and this is what is magical about the novel. Magical, I'm not praising the novel by saying magical. I'm saying that there is an element of magic realism to it, where you have reality side by side with fantasy. So the element of fantasy is there in the novel because it doesn't happen in real life that we go all the way to the past, right? We don't have this invention yet, but we're we're organizing the trip anyway. Um, so this is one of the ideas that will be addressing ourselves to. And this idea of moving back to the past and living in the past, or allowed to live in the past for a while, will bring in the idea of fantasy. And the novel is both fantastic and realistic. Realism, because I mean, Tom is a child like any other child, and he is taken away from his home because of, remember, because of his brother's illness and the fact that his family didn't want him to contract the same disease, and this is typical. It happens, right? And in the age of Corona and COVID, this happens. I mean, you take some people away, you put them under not surveillance, under what do they call it, quarantine for a while, for fear of them contracting a disease or transmitting a disease or transferring a disease to somebody else. So this is the realistic part of it. Again, the character of Hattie and how she transforms. And at the end, we discover that Hattie is no more than Mrs. Bartholomew, the land lady. Obviously, this is also this shifting is, or shape shifting, if you like, is not something that you would call realistic. Again, being a landlady is realistic, but being Hattie and what happens is not very realistic. I mean, the idea of the garden itself. Remember, the garden is the doorway to the past. We all, some of us, of course, have gardens in the areas where we live, or perhaps in our houses. But those gardens uh, um, are not magical in any way. Stay there all you want, and you're not going to go anywhere, neither to the past nor to the future. Which makes it, like I said, unrealistic and fantastic. Right. Let me see. I read this article and I liked it. As it sums up the whole idea, and it also gives us the plot. So that can be a point of departure for us. And I'll share it with you, inshallah. If it's not on the shared folder already, I'll share it. So let's look at it and see. Hagar is raising her hand. Go ahead, ya Hagar. Okay, she's not raising her hand anymore. Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Yes, Doctor. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
and it's clear enough, right?
Yes.
So it's Tom's Midnight Garden, everyone. Um, it's a fantasy, like we said, and then it was written by Philippa Pearce, and it was published in 1958. Um, since then, it has been, filmed and adapted to television, and obviously, this is a sign of success. If you write a novel and lots of people want to kind of adapt it, to rework it, obviously it means that it has such an impact, which Tom's Midnight Garden had on people and everything. So the basic idea, like we said, is about this main character, Tom, who is a boy living under quarantine with his aunt and uncle in the 1950s in an apartment building. Um, and then at one point, like I said, he slips to the old garden where he finds a girl playmate in the past. This is basic. What about the recognition and the awards that the novel got? We said that it had a number of awards, and some of those awards were very prestigious, like the Carnegie Medal in literature. This is a summary of the plot, and it's a very apt summary in the sense that it sums up the whole idea. If you haven't read the novel, if you're halfway through, if you even have read a summary, this one is also very good. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to read it on your own before we proceed. Let me see how long. It's not very long. So go ahead, read the summary in 2 minutes, only 2 minutes. Go ahead. Done? Hello?
Yes, doctor.
Are you done, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what do you think? Those who have read the novel or part of it, do you think it sums up the idea clearly?
I think
Yes, doc.
yes.
Yeah, I
It's very
think it's
obvious.
yes. Okay.
It focuses on the main part.
Ah, yes, it's a very informed kind of summary. Well, we're not telling you the story and full stop. We are focusing on areas that can be perhaps expanded on, that can trigger ideas and thoughts and everything in between. Okay. So now everybody knows about the story. So if when you talk about it, you will be on the same page with us. Okay. And also, the same file talks about some of the literary significance of the novel. Literary significance means how important it is. Did it add to children's literature or British children's literature? Did it add to the existing literature? Was it a plus? Was it an asset that people can appreciate and think highly of, or the other way around? So most of the people, most of the those critics who read the novel liked it, except for very few cases where people would like it in principle, but they would refer to areas that they didn't very much like. One of those people who thought very highly of the novel is Hunt, a very famous critic, who considers the novel a masterpiece. When I say that a piece of work is a masterpiece, piece, I mean that it is like no other. It is unique. It is unparalleled, which what he thought it was. So generally, the novel was regarded as a classic. Uh, um, Again, there are areas that people cannot pin down. They don't really understand what was happening, like the element of the ghost. If we talk about Hattie, we don't know whether Hattie can be considered a ghost or not. Um, Again, one of those who liked the novel um, is John Rowe Townsend. And he says, if I were asked to name a single masterpiece of English children's literature since the Second World War, it would be this outstandingly beautiful and absorbing book. Obviously, he is referring to Tom Midnight's God. He retained the judgment, even when he was asked again, he repeated the self same opinion or view. However, you have people who also thought that the novel is kind of exaggerating the values of the Victorian age or 19th century England. And they say, and one of them happens to be Ward Bradley, who believes that it wasn't all that honey and milk. It's not a lost paradise like it is presented. The Victorian age, where Tom is drawn to or taken to, is not the best of all possible worlds or periods. So, according to uh, uh, Bradley, this is romanticizing the 19th century, um, making it seem like a lost paradise. Again, he is trying to remind us and to remind the author perhaps that life in Britain during the time has its own share of miseries and suffering. So he refers to that to the drab reality of contemporary lower middle class Britain. Um, so he also talks about the crushing poverty in the factories and slums from where mansion owners often derive their wealth. He's talking about inequality during the time. He's talking about poverty and capitalism at the time. And then there is also this reference to time slip, which is obviously a popular technique and device. Of course, Pierce was not the first one to adopt it, but she comes in a long line of writers who used it even before her, like Alison Artie's A Traveler in Time, Ronald Welch's The Gauntlet, and other pieces of work. Again, the writer of this kind of file is also referring to this autobiographical part. Remember that Pierce said that I have built my novel, um, and I was inspired, but by what happened to our old house. The fact that at one point my father decided to sell it, and obviously it has trees in it. And she said that part of her past that she cherishes very much, is taken away from her. So, in order to relive those past experiences, and in order to kind of invoke those beautiful memories, she decided to write the novel, where, as you can see, there is a garden, and the garden takes you away from the here and the now. So this is, like I said, this is a very interesting article that sums up the whole idea. But obviously, this is not enough. We also have a number of articles, and they all talk about different aspects of Tom's Midnight Garden. Let me see if they have a name. Yeah, this is part of, I think we have the book with us. So Philippa Pearce, Tom's Midnight Garden, published in 1958. And we have this introduction by Heather Montgomery. And she talks, among other things, about the origins and the inspiration for the novel, and then the reception, how the novel was received, and then she started to talk about those different articles where people or critics are addressing certain aspects of the novel. I don't know whether you have gone that far, whether you have read those essays yet, but they are there, and I can always share them. They are in the book, this bulky book that we have that has so many essays. I would like you, but perhaps you can do that. I need somebody to go to the book. Remember this book that has collections of articles? If you have it handy, if you don't have it handy, you can always go to my shared folder, and I would like you to open it and see whether we have articles on Philippa Pearce and Tom's Midnight God. Can you check? Can I give you a minute to check that? Mm. Oh,
Yes, doctor, we have
oh,
it.
you have it. Okay, so I would like you to open it and see whether there are articles on Tom's Midnight Garden.
There is.
Okay, so it's like this. I think I put them together, only the chapters or the essays that we have, not everything. Okay. So what does Heather Montgomery says? What does she say about the novel? The usual thing, the fact that the novel was published in 1958 and it's a classic now. Again, people focus, or perhaps part of the appeal of the novel is the fact that it is a time slip narrative. And by now we know what time slip narratives are. When we talk about people taken to the past and dealing with people in the past, seeing things in the past. This is obviously Philippa Pearce's second novel, um, and it has this sense of place to it. We also talk about childhood memories. Um, again, those were inspired by Pierce's childhood memories when she was growing up in Mill House on the banks of the Cam near Great Shelford, obviously in England. And she said, of course, that she was inspired by the fact that her father had to retire and they had to sell the Mill House. And it was there and then that she started to think that something was taken away, something precious and something very important was taken away from her. Obviously, she's talking about her childhood, because that house reminds or used to remind her of her childhood. So, in order to keep the memories and in order to keep the past living in her memory, she thought of writing the novel. Again, she wanted to also stress the fact that time is slipping, that everything is slipping. So, this is obviously a reference to the transience of life, perhaps the vanity of human wishes, the fact that no matter how hard we hold to the present moment, time slips, and the next thing you can always remember, perhaps um, a few days ago you were in year one, in the first year, and now, mashallah, you are in the fourth year and you're graduating. If you think about it, you'll find that time slipped, and then the time went and flew very fast. So this is one of the ideas that Philippa Pearce is addressing, the idea of the transience of life, the fact that our life, however long we think it is very short. And this is happening in the novel, of course, especially with the character of Hattie, where we see different stages of her life, and how time slipped. Um, if we talk about the reception of the novel, how well received the novel was, it was well received. Again, remember, a mark or a sign of good reception would be the novel getting a lot of acclaim, literary acclaim, and winning a number of prizes. And one of them is the Carnegie Medal in 1958. And even when people praise it, and sometimes they say that it is the second best or the best after another one, and it has um, been put on a pedestal. So it was called, for example, one of the finest pieces of writing for children produced since World War II, a classic in the front rank of children's literature. Obviously, this is a huge claim, but the novel establishes it. The novel is good. So other people and other scholars share the sentiments, and they believe that it is a great piece of work. According to John Rowe Townsend, for example, Tom's Midnight Garden is one of the tiny handful of masterpieces of English children's literature. Again, like I said, another mark of excellence, another mark of excellent reception would be the fact that the novel was adapted several times for stage, and it was filmed and was made into a movie, and lots of people until now love the book. Again, does it mean that everybody approved of it? No, there were also detractors. Detractors are those who think there are things that should be highlighted, negative things about the novel. I mean, some people talk about its sense of nostalgia, the fact that it is nostalgic, and some people believe that nostalgia is defeating. So if you are nostalgic, it means that you are trying to fly away from the present to the past, which is obviously a self-defeating mechanism, which they don't approve. So some people believe that by going to the Victorian age, the novel is being nostalgic, and the novel is also being conservative, extolling and thinking highly of the virtues of the past over those of the present. So they would consider it some kind of escape. They would consider it some kind of uh, relinquishing your responsibilities and duties in the present and going all the way to the past, over romanticizing its rites and rituals. And obviously they believe that this is not the right thing to do. They believe that novels should start and end in the present. They should engage with the issues of the time, not to kind of escape and fly away from them. Um, so again, the focus is on a lot of things when it comes to Tom's Midnight Garden, talking about this idea of loss, and the idea or the sense of things slipping away. We spoke about loss and loss on a number of levels, the loss of people and individuals, the loss of a style of living, a way of life, the loss of values, old values that are being replaced with new values. So the sense of loss permeates the novel. The novel has at its core this idea of loss. It can be as intimate as the loss that Tom is experiencing now that he is separated from his brother, and also on the emotional level, he has to be separated from Hattie at the end, um, and the loss of life itself, the fact that every stage is not retrievable. So once you move beyond the stage, you will, like I always say, we don't have control Z in life if we use the keyboard terminology. You know what control Z does, right? So if you do something, if you're typing something in a Word file and you don't want it, you would like to change it or delete it, you simply press Control Z and it's no more. So it is as if you are moving to a stage before you did it. This is past. So again, it's this lamenting of the past that the novel addresses itself to on in more than one occasion. Loss, talking also about the vagaries of time, the ravages of time, the fact that time is linear, it doesn't go back. So once you pass a stage, you can never go back to it. And this is perhaps the one kind of battle that we never win as human beings. So of course, it's a battle against time, and we emerge losers every time we try to kind of um, start to do something about it. So again, the novel is very much about that, about um, um, the sense of loss that we feel as human beings, the sense of transience, the fact that life is short, that life is brief, and this permeating sense that things are slipping away from perhaps between our fingers and hands. Uh, okay, so this would make the novel uh, elegiac from elegy. I mean, it has this sad tone to it, but you still have those moments where there is hope. We have to move on. We shouldn't be stuck in the past. So again, the book is imbued with a feeling of loss and also longing for the past. Um, what happens is that we move in a linear direction. There is no uh, twists and turns. You can never go back to a stage that you are now past. So we're talking here about growing up, and then you grow old, and of course you come to the realization that childhood is a transient, temporary phase of life that can never be revisited or retrieved. And of course, if we talk about loss, we talk about the idea of death. And death is all over the place in the novel. So death is a kind of loss. You lose someone, you lose um, a loved one, and it is reenacted and enacted in the novel very vividly. The fact that we'll see that Hattie, for example, is beset with catastrophes We know that she is an orphan, for example. We know by the end that she is a widow who lost two sons in World War One. Um, Again, does it mean that the novel is mired in melancholy and gloom and sadness and tragedy? Yeah, there is this aspect of tragedy to it, but this is obviously not the end of it, because the realization that this is life, the fact that you come to terms with that is in and of itself a victory. So you're obviously defeating those negative thoughts about death and loss by moving on. Moving on is a good thing. And this is actually what is happening with Tom at the end of the novel. He moves on. He decides to move on. It is true that he is so attached to Hattie, but he comes to the realization that Hattie is uh, what represents the past, and he cannot stay in the past forever. So this realization is good um, in and of itself. Part of the relief that we're having, part of the delight that we may have, which can dismiss this atmosphere of gloom, this atmosphere of death, is that the end or the ending is so credible, it's very realistic. When Tom decides to move on, this is realistic. If the novel ended in any other way, you would have felt betrayed, because this is not reality. People don't live in the past, and if they do, um, obviously, this is not very realistic. Again, to perhaps drive the idea home, the idea that the novel ends in victory, the forces of uh, hope uh, are overpowering those of defeat and death. A sign of just that would be the comparison that some critics are making, especially Humphrey Carpenter, between Tom's Midnight Garden and Peter Pan, where Peter Pan is obviously about the past, soaked in the past, while Tom's Mid Garden has Tom moving on, where Tom accepts what Peter Pan can never accept. What is it that Tom accepts and Peter does not? Well, it's the idea that time must be allowed to pass, and the fact that growth and even old age must be accepted as necessary and even desirable facets of human existence. Again, there is this reference to Pearce's use of time shift narratives, and we're stressing the fact that this was not new. This was not the invention of Pierce. Actually, she found it there. She found a tradition for it, and what she's doing is that she's following it. So this device, we're talking about time shift narrative, of course, is a recognizable and repeated device in children's literature. And it was found in novels like Alison Otis' A Traveler in Time, or Susan Cooper's King of Shadows, along with other novels. Um, Again, here the focus is on this time shift element, and I would like you to pay very close attention to this part, because sometimes we ask you about this time shift narrative technique, and this is where you can take your information and your inspiration from, where you can always set parallels between Tom's Midnight Garden and the other novels that came before it that made it part of a long tradition. So again, we have those comparisons between different novels that has this time shift narrative. One of them is almost identical. It's the Secret Garden by Francis Hutchinson Burnett. I mean, the two novels are almost the same, except for the fact that instead of Tom, we have Mary. Again, at the core of the two novels is the idea of the garden and what happens in the garden, and the fact that the garden takes them away to the past, and the different interpretation of the garden and its restoring and regenerating force, and also what some people are thinking of when it comes to the garden, comparing it to uh, Edenic gardens, Jannat Aden, and the reference to childhood as innocence and the hope and the optimism of childhood and the possibilities of regeneration. These are also possible themes that you find in the two novels. Um, Again, I was under the impression that we should start at 11, 11:30, not 11. I'm sorry, at 10:30, not 10. Obviously, I have another class waiting for me. I'll stop on this note, and I would like you to read the rest of the essays. I have them in this file. If you would like me to send it to you, it I and they are put in only one single file. If you can read it, and we can of course discuss it next time. So when is next time? I think we agreed on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
What time what did you agree on?
10 p.m.
10 p.m. طيب.
On Wednesday.
Ah,
On Wednesday.
طب can somebody write that on the WhatsApp group?
Yes, doctor, I will write.
طيب. So what is it that you guys are going to do for next time? You're going to read the articles. صح?
Yes, doctor.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you
Doctor, I
promise to
have
read them?
problem
Yes.
with the names in this novel. It's very difficult.
ليه ما أقول Tom and Mrs.
لا
Bartholomew.
ايه بارثو ما بعرف هيك الاسماء حسيتهم.
Not all of
John,
them.
Peter, okay.
Gwen, no. So obviously it's Tom and his brother. These are normal names, right? Hattie, I don't believe that we have a problem with Hattie. Anyway, we're meeting inshallah on Wednesday at 10 p.m. and I would like you to read the article so that it can be a vibrant and lively, class full of discussions and everything. Yalla, until then, I wish you all the best. Salam alaikum.
يعطيك العافية دكتور.
Thank you.
By the way, did you check the SIS for your
Yes,
marks?
doctor, I
Yes,
checked.
doctor.
Thank
You
you,
Yes,
get
doctor.
it.
طيب
Doctor,
يلا
we see.
Thank you, doctor.
توفيق إن شاء الله مع السلامة.
Okay.